Hey Insider, welcome back to our new journey. Today's true story will bring tears to your eyes without you even knowing it. The story is based on a true incident. The pursuit of happiness is not just a movie, it is actually a journey. A journey in which a man who has seen nothing but pain and poverty in his life achieves real happiness on the strength of his hard work. In the beginning of the story, we see Chris Gardner, who lives with his 5-year-old son Christopher and his wife. Because both he and his wife Linda work, they leave their son in daycare. Chris goes to drop his son in daycare, where little Christopher tells him that he's making a list of his birthday presents. But Chris warns him that due to lack of money, he will be able to fulfill only a few things in this list. After dropping his son in daycare, he leaves for his work, where we see the gift in his hands. We see a big white colored device. This device is a bone density scanner, and Chris is the salesman of this device. This bone density scanner produces a slightly denser image than an X-ray, but at twice the price. Therefore, most doctors consider this device junk. To pay the rent of his house and Christopher's daycare fees, Chris has to sell 2 machines every month. But he has not sold a single scanner for a long time, and due to this, his financial condition is very bad. He has to sell 1 scanner in an emergency, and that is why he goes to Auckland, a little away from his city. He goes to show this machine to a doctor because he is going away from the city, and asks his wife Linda to pick up their son in the evening. But this task will be a little difficult for Linda because she has a double shift here in Auckland. This doctor calls this scanner junk and strictly refuses to take it. After coming out of the hospital, Chris sees that the police have confiscated his car, but he cannot do anything about it because he does not have enough money to pay the parking fine. No. He somehow comes back home, where Linda scolds him for the house rent and asks him to pay his taxes, but Chris has no money for all these things, and he postpones this month's tax to the next month. At home, he sees a Rubik's Cube which someone has gifted to Christopher on his birthday. Rubik's Cube was new at that time, and there was no trick to solve it. Chris tries very hard to solve this cube. Next day at work, he sees a rich man who has a brand new sports car. He gets impressed by this man and asks him about his secret. This man tells Chris that he is just a stockbroker. Chris asks him if he needs a college degree to become a stockbroker. In response, this man says no. You do not need any college degree. You just need to know a little bit of maths and talk to people. Saying this, the man leaves from there. Chris likes the atmosphere there very much because of that broker house. Everyone outside was smiling. Seeing these people, he asks himself, why can't I be so happy? From here, he decides that he will also leave his job as a salesman and become a stockbroker. The next morning, he asks Linda to pick up Christopher from the daycare because he will go to the brokerage firm today. But Linda gets very angry at his decision because the house rent is still due for 2 months. She tells Chris that it would be better if he does not waste his time and energy on useless things and quickly sells the scanners and completes his contract. Chris gets very sad at Linda's words, but he also knows that Linda is not saying anything wrong. Now Chris visits a brokerage firm to fill in the internship form here to make a good impression. He leaves his scanner with a girl outside and also gives her $1 to see his machine. Inside the office, Mr. Tootle tells him about this program. He gives him a form which he has to submit in the main office. These people first have an interview. Chris is told that 20 people have already enrolled in this training, but finally, only one of them will get a chance to become a broker in the firm. Mr. Tootle is explaining the rest of the details to Chris when he sees the girl running away with his machine from the window. He forgets everything and follows the girl, but she escapes by boarding a train. Chris gets so tense due to the theft of the machine that he is unable to sleep the whole night. The next day, he goes to the main office of the brokerage to submit his form, where he sees a man with his scanner. Here, Chris tells us that he is the only salesman of that scanner in that entire area, and he did not send that scanner to any such person, which clearly means that this is the same scanner which was stolen. Chris tells us its story and says that I had bought that scanner by investing my entire life savings. But that scanner was nothing more than junk for the doctors. The cost of this one scanner is more than my monthly ration. Here, he finally catches that man, where he also finds the girl who had stolen his scanner. He takes back his scanner from him and leaves from there. After submitting his form, he meets Mr. Tall every other day so that he can know him and select him for the internship. But Mr. Vital does not pay much attention to his words and sits in a taxi. To talk to Tal more, he sits in his taxi and makes an excuse that he is also going to the same place where Tal is going. In the taxi, he tries hard to tell Tal that even though he never went to college, he is very hardworking and disciplined. But Tal is busy solving the Rubik's Cube and does not pay attention to what he says. Then Chris tells him that he can solve the cube easily and offers to be his coach. The total fare of the taxi has reached 100 and Chris does not have that much money. So he stops the taxi at some distance and runs away from there, and the taxi driver also follows him. Chris runs and gets into the train, but the gate of the train closes and his scanner is left at the railway station. Chris returns to his home in a very upset state, where he comes to know that his wife has left him with Christopher and he could not even see them for the last time. He gets a phone call in which he is told that he has been selected for the internship interview, but he's not happy about this because his wife has left him with his son. The next day, he himself goes to meet Linda at her workplace, where both of them have an argument. Chris is not convinced that who will keep Christopher with him, and in the evening he goes to the daycare and brings Christopher home with him. The next day, Chris's landlord comes to his house to collect the rent. He tells Chris that you have not paid the rent for 3 months, and if you do not pay the rent tomorrow, then get out of my property. I have to get this place painted too. Chris does not have a single penny, but that man gives him a week's time to vacate the house, provided that he paints the house himself. The same night, Chris starts painting the house, but the police come to his house and take him away from there. Chris has not paid his parking charges for a long time, and that is why he will have to pay a penalty and stay in jail overnight. Chris is very upset because he has an interview tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. and the police will release him by 9:30 a.m. He reluctantly calls Linda and asks her to take care of Christopher till tomorrow evening. The next morning at 9:04, he leaves the police station and rushes straight to the office because he has no time to go home. No, Chris doesn't even have a decent shirt here. The chain of his jacket was not working and his vest was visible. The police caught him when he was painting, and that's why he was completely covered with paint. He didn't know anyone in the office, so he couldn't get a shirt from anyone in the emerging agency. The interviewers are surprised to see Chris without shirt, but he tells them completely honestly what actually happened to him. The interviewer asks Chris, "What will you think if I tell you that I hired a shirtless man for the job?" Chris replies very smartly, "Then sir, that man must have worn very good pants." Now all the interviewers are very happy with Chris's answer and laugh a lot. Outside the interview, Mr. Total tells Chris that Chris did great in the interview and his position is confirmed. But it is not sure yet whether Chris will take this internship or not. In this internship, he will have to work for free for 1 month, and even after this, those people will not tell him anything. We will give job to only one person. She's got a job in New York, and she's going there taking Christopher with her, but Chris wants to keep his son with him. Linda is angry with Chris, but she still loves him, and that is why she agrees to Chris. There is a very emotional moment between the two, where both are angry with each other, but also love each other a lot. And during this time, both of them get teary-eyed to survive his internship. Chris calculates that if he gives 6 machine guns, then the work will be done. But for this, he will have to work really hard because he will have to work twice as hard. Now, Chris and his son leave the apartment and shift to a small motel so that they can pay the rent. Here once, while playing with Christopher, Chris tells him that Christopher, if you have a dream, then it is your responsibility to fulfill it. Never let anyone tell you that you cannot do that work. Neither did I. Here, Christopher is very young, so maybe he did not understand this thing completely. But this thing is the most amazing message of the film. The next day, he goes to attend the first day of internship at Broke House. Here, these people will get stock-related knowledge for a week, and these people will have to call different people and sell them the financial services of the company. The person who raises the most money for the company will get this job. Unlike others, he has only 6 hours instead of 9 to work because he has to pick up Christopher from the daycare every day at 4:00, and for this he has to travel from one corner of the city to another every day. To compensate for this time, he takes a very strict schedule. He does not get up from his seat during work and never keeps the phone away from his ear. He never drinks water in the office so that his time is not wasted by going to the washroom. In the office, these people call people of different status and offer them the services of their firm. Chris was trying to offer services to the lowest level clients for a long time, but no one replied to his calls. Finally, fed up, he calls the office of the CEO of a big firm. The name of the CEO is Mr. Ribbons, and he asks Chris to come to his office in 20 minutes and show his products. Now, Chris's happiness knows no bounds. He quickly rushes to Ribbons' office, but his boss gives him some work on the way, due to which he misses Mr. Ribbons. Even during his time of stress, he tries to give full time to Christopher. They go to sell a scanner on the weekend, but before that, Chris visits Mr. Ribbons' house. Here he introduces himself and says, "Sir, my name is Chris. Thank you for waiting for me in your office that day. I was late that day. I went and I'm sorry for not being able to meet you." Ribbons actually did not wait for Chris much, but still he gets impressed after listening to Chris's story. He is going to watch a rugby match with his son, and he invites both Chris and Christopher for this match. Ribbons is a big client and Chris wants to build a better relationship with him so that he can buy their services. With this intention, Chris goes to watch the match with him. Here, Christopher enjoys a lot in the match. After the match, Ribbons refuses Chris for his services, and along with him, all his other rich friends who have come to watch the match with him exchange their contacts with Chris, and Chris leaves from here empty-handed. Even after all this, he does not let his hard work fall short. He sells 6 scanners in 4 months and stabilizes his financial condition, but his real problem starts from here. Due to not depositing the tax for a long time, the government takes the entire RAS 600 from Chris's account, which includes extra money. Penalties also included. He has only 2 left in his account and he's bankrupt. He returns to find that the motel owner has thrown out his belongings from the room because he has not received the rent for a long time. Chris gets very upset and mad. He does not know where to take his son Christopher, and due to lack of any option, both of them have to spend the night in the washroom of the railway station. The next day, hopefully, Chris meets a madman in the park who has a scanner. Chris takes back his scanner from him and goes to sell it to a doctor, but due to some reason, his scanner gets damaged and Chris has to return empty-handed. Chris also has to look for a place to spend the night. These people go to a missionary home where Chris has to stand in line for an hour to get a room. This is really a very difficult time for Chris. He now tries to finish his work even earlier in the office, because not only does he have to pick up Christopher from the daycare, but also has to leave an hour earlier. One has to stand in the queue at the ashram as the entry is closed after 5:00 p.m. and there are limited rooms to fix the Chris scanner. Chris tries very hard, but he does not have money to buy the machine parts. He collects money by donating his blood and goes to his friend to whom he had lent 14, but his friend deceives Chris and drives him away from there. The next day, he has a test in Chris's firm, and here he completes the test and submits it an hour before because he has to go home and stand in the queue for the ashram. He somehow collects money, repairs his scanner, and sells it, which gives him 250. With this money, he survives for 4 weeks. This goes on like this, and the last day of the firm's internship arrives. Chris has come wearing a new shirt today. The owner of the firm calls him to his office to talk about something. These people praise Chris's new shirt. Chris tells them that, "Sir, I came without a shirt on the day of the interview. Now to compensate for the same thing, I have come wearing a new shirt today on the last day of the internship." His boss says to him that it is a very good thing. "Now tomorrow, also, I will dress up like this. Come back, because tomorrow is going to be your first day in this firm. You have been selected. Congratulations, Chris." Now, from here, Chris's happiness knows no bounds. He becomes very happy after getting this job, and he becomes so happy that he starts crying. In the whole story, we have seen Chris only struggling. All the time, he used to ask himself what is real happiness, and today, finally, after working so hard when he got this job, he is able to experience the thing which he had not experienced till date, and that thing was happiness. After working for some time in this firm, Chris opened his own firm named Gardner Rich, and today the value of this firm is in crores, and its majority stake is with Chris. The story ends here. This was inspired from a real-life incident. This was the story of a man named Chris Garden, who achieved true happiness through his hard work. The film has an IMDB rating of 8 out of 10 and against its budget of $55 million. It earned $307 million at the box office. If you liked this video, please like it. Share this video and subscribe to our channel, The Movie Nayak. See you next time with a new video. Thank you.